Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello, Josh, is that you?
Yes, it is.
All right, and you are the drum guy?
That drummer guy, yes.
The drummer guy. Okay. Josh, what do you want to chat with? What's the agenda? I imagine it has to do with drums, but what part of this thing? Can you give me a bit of an outline in your head?
Sure. I mean, there's a few different directions I usually can go in. I'm usually more of a stream of consciousness kind of guy. I like going wherever the conversation goes us. But I know there's a lot to talk about with Pompeii coming out in a couple of weeks. Your current playing that you're doing. There's anything that you want to talk about, I am totally up for.
Okay, I have to alert you and warn you I've had 13 cups of coffee, so I may ramble, okay? So you're going to have to shut me down. Everything, that's cool. Where are you now? Where are you out of? Where are you located?
I am out of Minnesota.
All right. Oh, okay, great. And this, just try to give me an idea of the landscape. Are you recording this or making notes? How do you prefer to do this?
I have it recorded right now. If there's anything that I need to get rid of, or if there's anything that you want me to cut out, I can easily cut it out and then put everything back together to be able to show off online and in the coming weeks on my radio show as well, to be able to promote the new release that you have coming with Pompeii.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm with you on all accounts. Okay, that's cool. That's very cool. By any chance, you haven't seen the final vinyl on this, have you? Because I only got one copy, and I don't think it's coming out till Record Store Day or something. So what did you listen to? So I have an idea of what you know.
I just have two of the songs that were released so far ahead of time. That's all I have so far. But
which ones are they? Which songs?
Silent Movie and Growing Old with Rock and Roll.
Okay, wonderful. That's cool. I'm just trying to get an idea because I know I'm not familiar with this whole vinyl Record Store Day release thing and the exclusiveness that is applied to the cult of the vinyl thing. But it's great. It's really I'm just learning about it. So in terms of the procedure and the release, etc., I'm unfamiliar with a lot of that. I love the old school aspect of it, needless to say. I love the idea of vinyl, etc. But it's really wild that this vinyl thing is coming back, so to speak, and it's just, it's a new world. It's an old new world is what it is. That's kind of way to put it, But, so carry on. How could where do you want to start on this?
Oh, I actually think that's a great way to be able to start off talking about the Secret Sessions with Pompeii, which is coming out for Record Store Day. And with the sounds that I've been able to hear so far, it's such a great representation of where everyone was in this project back when it was recorded, and it's really fantastic to be able to hear all of you guys get together and write songs like this, and I could just tell how fun everyone was having while you're playing.
Well, I'm great. I mean, if that's coming on, it's very kind of you to say, but it's wonderful that you have that perception of it, because that's exactly what it was. It was very organic over a period of time, starting with my solo deal, going into the Ian Hunter, and then it was a joy. You're exactly right. It was a joy. It wasn't about any kind of celebrity situation. It was about the music. It was about the material, because we weren't, there was no real agenda. There was no real record deal. We had it. We started. We got dropped like a bad transmission at the end of the 70s as a result of the punk movement coming in. So we were on the other side of that, but it did not affect Ian and I. It didn't affect us at all, because from a point of view, this was pretty much recorded off the floor. As you know, we just played. We had at the time an engineer called Bobby Clearmountain, who eventually became a superstar as a producer and an engineer. So what I love about about it is the actual quality and the fidelity of the performances lasted because it was done first division. It was a privilege to be able to have that opportunity to play with these different players, because Steve Wax, the president of the company, Elektra, wanted to put together a super group, which between you and I sucks because I don't believe in super groups. But let's put it this way: when the president of the label wants to do something and he wants to pay for it, he put Bob Ezrin as the producer, who eventually went off a couple of months later to produce The Wall. So we had first division input for the music, but Ian and I were challenged to write songs that we loved, and it was our feel. At the time, Ian had a huge record, I believe, with Barry Manilow called Ships in the Night. It was a pop ballad. And he was bitching him up, can't believe I'm a fucking rocker. What's with the ballad? He didn't want to get known as a ballad writer. And between you and I, he's probably one of the best ballad writers around. And he says, Corky, I need help to be a rocker. You're a rocker, you got that? You're a rocker, and I want to be a rocker. I said, Ian, you're a rocker. You just happen to step in a little poo-poo, and you got yourself a #1 record. What are you bitching about? No, man, we've got to make a rock record, man. We've got to rock, And I said, okay. So I was living with Ian in Chappaqua at that time, staying at his house, and we were writing songs. We weren't like jamming and this and that, hoping to land something. We really played. We played what we wrote, and we wrote what we played, etc. And it developed. And during the course of that time, like I said, Steve Wax says, well, man, you guys why don't we put a super group together around you? And I went, oh boy, super group, oh my God, here we go. So, but the fun of it all was getting a guy like Andy Fraser to come in and play bass. A huge fan of him from Free, what's his name? Lee Michaels came in and just jammed the whole thing right up with his piano. It was great. And we had Steve Hunter from Alice Cooper's band, and Bob Ezrin brought him in. We had about a half a dozen great players, not just celebrity players. These were great musicians. And it was about performance. And it was about the freedom to perform because we had no direction, Josh. We said we have no limits. There was no click track. God forbid there be a click track. And being the drummer guy, you can appreciate the freedom of not being untethered to a click track, which over my career, I've been very fortunate to stay away from, And I say that with a little bit of confliction about the fact that maybe I should have learned how to play with a click track and gotten a lot more sessions, etc. But I'm not a journeyman drummer. I like to play with a group. I'm used to that. I like that. It's not a comfort zone. If anything, when I was working with Meatloaf and Peter Frampton for 20 minutes, they knew what they wanted from a drummer, but I wasn't the drummer for them, even though, I played with Loaf for a while. And very challenging, by the way. Meatloaf's songs, their signatures are all over the place, and it was like a Broadway show. So you had to smash the cymbal at certain places, in the on the script, etc. So I never was comfortable with that. And playing with a trio or with a band, I was fortunate because I was working with some really great. And I say that I'm underestimating what I'm saying because they were brilliant. Working with Jack Bruce and Felix Pappalardi, these guys were the real deal, and being in the loop with them, not only just jamming one number, but actually writing together, recording together, and then performing over the years. I got very spoiled, Josh. I was really lucky. I'm very spoiled because in that era, you were who you played with, and of course, as an aspiring musician, you wanted to get next to your heroes. And if you have the opportunity to do this, which I did, by the way, and it was just luck. then when you rub shoulders with people at that time, you were physically rubbing shoulders. It wasn't, nobody was sending in their parts or putting down a track and then you add something to it. It was a natural progression, and I was very proud of the material. The fact that I couldn't get the booger off the ground to get it out there, I never gave up. I just said, okay, let's do what we can. As it turned out, 3 or 4 record companies signed it, then dropped it, then went on to sign it to somebody else. And then, so this particular project was under the radar. It never surfaced, hence the name The Secret Sessions, because nobody ever knew about it until our buddy Jason Hartless Jr. asked me if I wanted to take Secret Sessions, which was never released on vinyl, I want to put it out. I said, yeah, it would be great. I'm an oldster. To me, it's like going full circle. I started off on 78 and 45s into 33s, and now we're back at vinyl. So it's a great journey returning back to vinyl. As it turns out, like I said before, there's a whole new cult. It's become very vogue on a level, So I don't know if you're into that vinyl thing. I got to tell you, I never left it. To me, it's always been vinyl, and to my detriment, maybe I should have kept up in the high tech, spirit, but I never was into that. I couldn't program a drum machine for the life of me, And I lost a lot of gigs from it. I mean, when Hall & Oates were at the Electric Ladyland, and the gentleman that was engineering was a good friend, and he knew I was in between millions. I couldn't get arrested. This was in the 80s. And and he gave me this Roland, 327, one of the first, of its kind. You program very simply, supposedly, but you hit one of the notes, and all of a sudden there's 27 Puerto Rican drums going, and I didn't know what the hell to do with it. And so he handed me the machine, and I'm going, I don't know. So I took it home, and believe me, Judge, I worked. I looked, and I tried so hard to get used to it, and I realized that wasn't my station in life, was not to program drums. And I'm saying I missed out on that, but I don't know that I missed anything, because anybody. Are you still there, Josh?
I'm still here.
Okay, because my phone's buzzing. Anyway, so you get it, right? I just had to make a choice, and I did make a choice way back to not, I wasn't going to abandon what I loved doing, and that was playing with that freedom and the joy of, I happen to love writing, and I've been fortunate on that front. So it was great. I mean, it is great, and it's sort of sentimental to hear these songs, and quite frankly, to hear the response like you have. Like, if you like it, that's fucking great. Excuse my Shakespeare. Am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Oh yeah, sure thing.
Okay. I never say fuck or shit on the radio. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I don't even know if there was a question there, but as I like to ramble anyways, so it was a joy. I mean, needless to say, at different points, when Eric Clapton dropped by Capricorn Studios, and he asked me if I needed help. And when Eric asked for help, asked to give it, it's a no-brainer. But you know what, Josh? He sat down, and we had this song that Leslie and I had pre-written called On My Way to Georgia. It was sort of a straight 4. And I had put time into writing the lyric, and I tried to sing it as best I could, but I'm not a lead singer, and I knew that. But Eric didn't mind. We played the track, and he started playing rhythm guitar on it, and he had that fucking biting tone, that you couldn't miss it. It just went right through you. And, it was kind of like, wow, I knew he's an amazing guitar player, lead guitar especially, and melodically. But when he hit that rhythm guitar, whoa, it blew it up. And here's a really good song. But then Dickie Betts finds out in Capricorn Studios in Detroit. He says, what the fuck? You telling me the fucking Eric's in town and I'm not playing on that fucking record? You better fucking... Anyways, John Sandlin, the producer, who also was the Allman Brothers producer, great guy. And he says, Dickie wants to come and play on the record. Should we let him? And I know who Dickie was and this and that, but he came in because he had to keep up with everybody. I mean, there's not a lot of shit going on in Macon, Georgia. So he came down to the studio, and I remember, just off the record, John Sandler looked at me, he says, Cork, I've done a lot of recording with Dickie. He takes forever on 3 bars. He has to get it perfectly. And I'm saying, he says, Cork, I don't know if we have the budget for Dickie. He's not going to charge us anything. It was, pro bono, whatever. And I'm laughing. I'm saying, so what do we do, John? He said, well, I don't think we can get out of it. He's going to want it. So he came in and played slide guitar. And he fucking killed it. Yes, it took an entire day for 6 bars, but he killed it. So it was that kind of give and take, diversity of ideas and atmosphere and attitude. And that's what that record is. It's just everybody, not on a celebrity level, on a musical level, got into it for what they could bring to it. And I'm pleased as punch about it, that it came back this way. And here's what's happening. Josh is calling me to talk about a record that was written 50 years ago. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. That's pretty fucking cool, But, that's what it is. And then they put this guy. You haven't seen the cover. I don't know. Did you get the press release? Because
yes.
I don't want to get redundant. So, I don't want to go off on everything, because you have it. If you have the press release, you have the way it came together and who came in where. So it's, that in capsule form pretty much tells the story. But what's ultimately the name of the game is the songs. And the songs, like when John Sebastian came in and we had the drum and the bass for the silent movie, it was just a feel. And John says, check this out. He comes in and brings out his harmonica and just wails a bit. Not a lot, not showing off, just harmonically putting in a melody. It was amazing. Here we are way up at Levon Helm's studio on the top of the mountain there in Barrisville. That's where we got the name Pompeii. In the village. It was like in the village of Woodstock. Here's these oldsters, like your Todd Rundgren, myself, Mick Ronson, Ian, Felix, standing around a mic in the darkness with just one mic and one light. And we're singing, and everybody was singing. And it was, Todd Rundgren is a miracle worker when it comes to harmonies and background vocals. He's a great artist, but he specializes in that. So everybody was singing they were singing notes that they never knew they could sing, because Todd would be insistent. No, you're going to do it E to A. Oh, it was just funny to see Todd instructing these people. Each guy, what he's going to do. And ultimately you have the chorus for the best thing that can happen to me. With the chorus, you ought to know. You ought to know you're the best thing that's a lot of words. He had a singing harmony on every one of them. And it was fun, because nobody's ever done that before. We've all had our little careers to a certain extent at that point. But everybody stepped out of their comfort zone to do that, and hopefully it comes off on the record that way, And so that's that was quite an experience, And I've been, again, I have a 4-letter word for my life, and it's luck. You got to be really lucky, to fall into those little windows of time and to cross roads like that, and then get a chance to really get it out. And are you a drummer? You must be a drummer, right?
Oh, yes.
You're the drummer guy, for Christ's sake. Of course you're a drummer. And I'm saying, so you know what it's like to play and just get it out of your body and soul. Physically, you exercise everything. You think, your emotions, everything comes out as a drummer. And that's what was happening with the record, is everybody was coming out of themselves. It was a very spiritual, experience, considering the fact that we had no band. It was just everybody was singing and playing these songs, And I remember playing it for Levon, and Levon said, shit. He said, God damn, look what you guys are doing, And anyway, so that was a great experience. Speaking of Levon, by the way, we were talking way back. We became friends because Leslie went vacation in Woodstock, and I knew Levon and the band when they were in Canada, because I'm from Canada, Anyways, excuse me, Leva and I had chats late at night and get a buzz on. I said, we're talking about programmed drums, and that whole technical thing that was coming in at the time. And I said, so what do you think? And Leva says, in his low southern voice, Corky, I got to tell you something. He says, music is a very special thing. You can do anything to music. Music don't care. I said, it's so prolific, right? Music don't care. And that's sort of, again, the way I would describe the way we performed and recorded. There was no guidelines. There was just do what you felt. Yes, we did have the songs. I don't want to make it frivolous. It was we had the basic tracks, so people knew how it was going to feel, and that's what came out over the years. It started like in '76 on my solo record and went through. We came back to it, and hence the Pompeii, which, by the way, I was talking about, we're on the top of the mountain, and we found out that the village referred to our session as the Pompeii session because it was like, we were the dinosaurs on the top. It was over for us. You did it. You've been there. And this is the way. So Ian and I joked about, what should we call it? It's called about, well, since we're all dead anyways, call it Pompeii. And so that stuck. So when Jason, the vinyl captain, said we need a name for the Secret Sessions, I said, can't you just call it the Secret Sessions? No, we want it because it's got to go in. When they put the vinyl in the boxes, it has to have a name. So I said, we'll try Pompeii. What do you think? So that's where that name came about.
Oh, that is so incredible. I mean, on so many levels when it comes to that. And, just with everything that you're talking about, I mean, it's so great to see. I mean, especially back then, just the love and passion of just like playing for the music, playing what you think is going to feel right, not worrying if a certain drum fill is going to be perfect or doing a specific lead riff or whatever, but just like getting together and playing this music, writing the songs out, and just making them the way that you want to make it. And I really admire that when it comes into your entire career. I mean, no matter the project that you've been a part of, whether it's your solo work or Mountain or with Pompeii, I mean, just like everything that you've been a part of, I mean, it's so great to hear the organicness of what you try to do and not having to worry about it being 100% and rather just having that great organic feel. And that's something that I always am drawn to.
Well, I tell you what, you just nailed it. Very perceptive, because the name of the game is freedom. It sounds corny, but in life, and of course there's a great deal of chat about it now politically, but the freedom in those days, not to be tethered, again, no programmed drums, not to be tethered to something to have to follow. And I was lucky that Felix and whoever I was working with opened it up. They let me fly. And I worked very hard at making sure that when I showed up and played, that I was able to execute it. But I was given that freedom, like you said, to play. And it was a time in life where at the time I was 24 or 22. I was a kid, so I had the energy to do it. And as I started doing it over the years, I stayed with that program. I stayed with the energy aspect of it because I'm not a technician. As a drummer, you would know there's different major, when you talk about what the best you're at. I wasn't a great session guy and I wasn't a technical player. I'm a performer. And the guys I work with on that record were all performers. And that's what, these days you would call it jazz, because the whole business is totally fucked. There is no more, record industry. There is no recording industry. It's just a bunch of programmers. And I'm not dishing it. I'm saying as a judgment. I don't want to judge it, excuse me. I don't want to judge it. Whatever's going on is fine. But I'm saying that to be able to, to be able to play, like you just said, to play what you feel, nobody's going to get in your way. And the responsibility's there. You have to make sure that you're playing within an envelope, but you're actually pushing the envelope. So I was lucky. I mean, Jack Bruce, to play with Jack, you're flying. You're doing Mach 2. You're out there. You're going faster than the speed of sound. At the same time, you're in control. It's an amazing feeling. It's a zone. And for people that can go there and do that, you never want to leave. Once we're in the zone, you're in the zone. You never want to go anywhere else. That's your bar. So if you can live long enough, I mean, I'm 70 years old, but I still feel like I'm 24. And that's because of the energy level that I've been able to, thank God, to sustain, because when I play now, I got two of the best musicians I played with in a long time. And this is the last band I'm going to do. I can't put together more bands. It's too hard. It's too difficult to find players that understand that era. It's not about how loud you play. It's not about how fast you play. Yes, you can shred, and yes, you can play with your teeth and all that. That's one thing. But the fact that you're able to, get up and I don't know, was there a question there? Because I'm going off on the left here. What was I talking about, Josh? We were talking about, I got to back up here. What was the last thing I said? Because I just got interrupted here. What was the last thing I said?
You were just talking about how something that I'm very much for and could not agree more with, just being able to play with passion rather than making sure, just like playing as technical as possible, doing all these shred things, no matter what your instrument is,
okay.
and just playing with feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, I digress there, but that's it. That's it. And you got to be very fortunate to be part of in that time. And it doesn't mean it's not going to happen again. There are a lot of great players these days. It's just, I was talking about putting a band together, and I was searching for some. I'm doing the mountain material the way it was recorded in the last year, and I'm trying to find. I had to go through a few people to find out. A lot of guys can play like Leslie West, because Leslie West set that that attitude. He's melodic. His tone was great. So it was very challenging to find somebody, because I did not want to abandon the material. The repertoire is everything. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. About 2 or 3 years ago, Warren Haynes and Government Mule were playing the Beacon Theater on New Year's Eve. I think it was 2011. And Warren's a big Mountain fan, and we're friends. And he called me. He said, "Corey, you want to come down? I'll put you on the hit list." Bada boom, bada boom. So I go there the day before New Year's Eve, and I'm walking around. Matt Apps, the drummer, comes. "Oh, Cork, great to see you." He says, "By the way, I don't know if you know this, but our fan base, online, we gave them a chance to request a cover, that they wanted us to play on New Year's Eve." And Matt says, "You know what? They wanted us to play Nantucket Sleigh Ride." I said, "Wow, you mean your fan base wanted you to cover Nantucket Sleigh Ride on New Year's Eve?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "And I got to ask you, Cork, he says, when you go into the sleigh ride version, with the splashing and the snare drum and cymbals, he says you change signatures to like a 5/4 or whatever 7. He says, how did you count that?" And then at that very point, he looked at me and went, "Well, wait a second. You're here. Why isn't Warren asking you to do that?" And we both looked at each other. We said, "You know what? Let's go upstairs to the dressing room and speak to Warren." So I walk into the dressing room. Warren sitting in there tuning his guitar, and he looks up and he goes, "Oh, Cork, I know what you're here for." And I said, "No, it's fine, I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to impose." He says, "No, Cork, I thought about it. I know you're here, and you did find out we're playing Nantucket Sleigh Ride at midnight and New Year's Eve." He says, "But I got to tell you, I listened to you and Leslie over the last 10 years at different shows along the way." He says, "And you guys are jamming so much. You're getting off the melody. You're getting off the song. Cork, I didn't even recognize Mississippi Queen when you played it." And I said, "You're right." And that there were times when I said, "Yeah, we got too far out there. We forgot what the essence of the show is. It's the songs." So he said, "I'll tell you what, Cork." He says, "The reason why I didn't invite you is because I don't think you know Nantucket Sleigh Ride. I'm thinking I've heard you play it with Leslie, and it doesn't sound anything like the way the song should sound." And I'm going, "Oh boy, maybe he's right." So he says, "I'll tell you what, Cork, if you want to come in tomorrow, we're rehearsing that afternoon, and we're playing New Year's Eve. If you come in the afternoon, and we'll try it. If you can learn it the way it was originally done, I'd love you to play New Year's Eve." So I got to tell you, Josh, I got into the car, and I fucking whipped home, and I sat down with Nantucket Sleigh Ride. And when you know it, he's right. I forgot all those parts. the parts that really make the corners, etc. So I learned it. I went over and over, and I learned it. I show up next afternoon for to rehearse. I sit down and we play it. And he looks at me and said, "Great, you got it. You're on for tonight." So it gave me the opportunity to play New Year's Eve at the Beacon Theater with Government Mule, and what a joy, right? I think it's on YouTube. But what I'm getting at is to play the songs the way it was originally done. That inspired me to go. If I'm going to play and play with musicians, I'm going to play it the way it was recorded. So that was my search for the last year or 2 years. I went through a couple of changes, and then I ran into this guitar player, Chris Shutters, out of Toledo. And he sounds and plays, and he's beautifully, but he has his own approach. And then he had a buddy named Mark Michael, who played bass and was really a producer kind of guy too. He has his own studio in Toledo. So I hooked up with him over Christmas and sat around, and it turned out we actually started playing some of the mountain stuff, and it sounded exactly the way it did back in 1970. And I'm flipping out because I didn't know these guys could play it that way. I know I was on the road with Chris with another kind of setup, and it was good. It was real good, but this nailed it. So what I'm saying to you is, as a result of checking things out and staying honest, searching for the right players, I stepped in shit here because these guys were brilliant. So we played a show in Toledo or Bowling Green, and it was crazy because we were only together for a week, but it's not that. It's the repertoire that these guys interpreted. And then we started recording new material. And some of that new material, one song, is in the Pompeii vinyl package. It's a little card, the digital download. And there's a song called Knock Me Over. And over the years, Josh, it's wonderful. Been part of some great tunage. But as things go on at this time in life, I'm thinking we need someone to really knock it over. You need something that's going to bowl you over. The worst expression in this business, been there, done that. I hate that. You may as well you put a bullet through your brain. Once you reach the point where you're that blasé about life and or music, fuck it, get out of the way. And the point is so we wrote this song about really writing. I need someone that's really going to knock me over. I mean, you're a player, you've played a lot of things. You're searching for that killer thing. And that's what we ended up recording. The song's called Knock Me Over. And that's I feel like a promo slot here, Josh, promoting here. That's in the vinyl package. You'll see it. We re-recorded a couple of songs that Jason, the record guy, wanted to hear, which was fine with the new band. And at this point, I think just last week, I'm trying to figure out a name for the band because I'd like to move on a bit from the mountain music, which I love. But we wanted to, want to play some new material, a couple of new pieces of repertoire. So the new band is called Silver Paper, which is one of the songs that people loved from Mountain. So it made sense, Corky Laing, Silver Paper, featuring Chris Shutters and Mark Michael. So that's, before you ask what's going on now, that's what's going on now. We're playing some shows. We got a tour starting in June. And we're doing a big show out here in Long Island with Kofi Baker, and he's playing Cream. And then I'll have Chris, myself, and Mark will play the best of the Mountain songs along with some West Bruce and Lang songs. And it's been going quite well. So I think I jumped ahead here and talked about where it's going. And the reason I mentioned it is because it's in the package. You'll see it. It's a bonus track. It's bonus tracks, and they're on a card. So it's kind of a lot in there, is what I'm saying. You have the past, and you've got a taste of the future. And we'll see if one loves it, great, but it's there, And we'll see what happens, But to answer the questions that you didn't ask, I'm saying you're spot on because you know what the answers are. You're sort of telling me the answers. But it's all part and part of the era, that, again, I go back to the freedom to play. And that's what people will do. You're not going to get claustrophobic listening to these songs because they're not that way,
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, whether it is the re-recordings. I mean, that's amazing that you were able to do these kind of re-recordings, and just like with the Government Mule. I mean, being able to go back and relearn the parts that you did for Mountain, and this brand new band that you're a part of. I mean, it's amazing to see the kind of legacy that you've been able to have, and still being able to stick to your guns, play the way that you want to do. But of course, being able to learn and relearn your material, being able to learn as a drummer, and being able to go back and incorporate what you've done in the past, and still be able to have that fun and joy of what being a musician is all about.
Yes, and that's where the collaboration is so important, because you're jumping in bed with a couple of people. They've got to reach the bar. They've got to take you further. And there's a lot of great musicians out there. You know, I was talking to Frank Marino from Mahogany Rush, who was up in Montreal, and he wants to put together a group, but he says a lot of the younger generation, they play the song, but they don't feel the song, you know, and that's a very important part. As a drummer, you know that. If you don't feel it, then you can't fake it, you know, you can't fake drumming. That's why people love drummers, is because what they see and hear is what it's about. You know, it's either you love it, but you can't fake it. And I never found myself ever doing that. I don't know why. It's not any kind of ultimate agenda. It's just that my instincts are just to just understand where it's going, what tempo it's going, and then from there drive it, you know, and try not to go off on the road. But if you do go off the road, try to get back on. So that's a lot about jamming, you know. I mean, Mountain was always a jam band. God, with Jack, we used to jam for, you know, hours at a time in rehearsal. We just play, and you know, that's an attitude. That's an attitude. It may not be the most successful way to make $1, because people want to hear songs and stuff. It's just another attitude. I think the combination of both is where it's at. You know, the freedom to jam and play, and also to understand the structure and the grid of a song. So you're able to, you know, anchor yourself to the extent where you know where you're going to land. I remember Felix telling me when I was playing, Felix, what do you want? He said, Corky, I just want you to go anywhere you want to go that's musical. But when you're finished, please let me know where the downbeat is, where the one is. I thought that was a funny way of putting it. You know, just make sure when it comes to the one, let me know. Do a fill, whatever it is. Make sure the band knows that, because that makes sense of everything. Everything starts at one, and everything finishes at one. So there you go. A little bit of philosophy from the Corkster, you know. Well, actually, it's from Felix, you know.
Oh yeah, but that is a great way to describe my own playing as well. It's like I love being able to still have that structure on there, but still being able to be myself, being able to have fun with it, have that free flowing feel to it. You know, and when you're jamming with a group of musicians and you really know how to connect together, you know when to go off into different spots and when to be able to come back, or when a song should just be sticking to the way that the structure should be. And you know, sometimes over the years that can always change and everything, but I really love being able to hear that from you. I mean, with being able to incorporate all these different things that you've been able to do, and of course now still being able to play the music for the music of Mountain, for example, and being able to incorporate that into 2018, and being able to give these legendary songs new life with a new lineup, and being able to have fun with that. It's so inspiring to hear that.
I appreciate that. That's very kind, and yes, you're inspiring me by just saying that, because hey, this is the record. I'm talking to you, Josh. You're in Minnesota. We're talking about music. We're talking about specific music. The fact that you like it, that your response is wonderful. But that's what it does. That's what it does. When it's right, it really spreads. It just gets around. I'm in semi-shock at the response of the way, the support that I would never, I just don't expect anything or presume anything. But it's wonderful because the people I am talking to, like yourself, do feel, most of them are musicians anyways on some of the interviews, but we're in the same boat, and it's very simple. It's really simple. It's about the material, and it's about playing, and just again the joy. I always look. You look at Keith Moon, and to me, he does that. Of course, pissed off Peter Townsend many times because he was all over the fucking place, But it was fun, and I remember, like again, I'm not dropping names, but he was a friend of mine. So when he played Madison Square Garden, I don't remember, the Who played 5 nights in a row. They sold it out, and each member had their night. And the night that Keith Moon was featured, he had me sitting right behind him. You know, the stack of amps were there, and I was right behind the stack, looking up at him. He's on his drum throne there, and he's playing. And Josh, I'm watching everything he's doing because I'm an eye-to-hand player. I don't, that's the way I learn. I watch and I do. And I got to tell you, I was watching him. I didn't have any idea of what he was doing. And at that point, I was pretty versed. So he gets off the stage. We go back to the dressing room. And I look at her. I said, I got to ask you. He said, don't ask me anything, man. I have no fucking idea what I did. He didn't want to know about that. And I didn't even get the question out. But he knew that. He knew that I was going to ask him something like that. He said, come on, man. You think I know what the fuck I do? I have no fucking idea. And the thing is, he's like an amusement park to watch. He has his own way of everything. He has his own way of emulating the joy. When you look at Keith, you want to be him. That's what inspiration is. It's not that you like him or you like what he does. It's beyond that. It's you want to be that. And that's what's the greatest inspiration. So that's what I thought. I want to be like that. Watching him play, and he's like, there's choreography going on, and he's sitting down. But his arms are going, his legs are going, his head, his whole body is just revolving around what he's playing. He's got those double bass drums flying, and you'd appreciate that, again, because you're a drummer. It was amazing to watch him. And that's the thing. It's like sometimes you can't even make sense of that, which is part of playing great, is when you don't have to, it doesn't make sense. It just makes music, And remember with Levon, I love Levon, it's not, music's very special. You can do anything to music. You can do anything to drums, Nobody cares. It's a question of how it projects. Well, sure, that was a big influence on me. And then Levon Helm's the other guy that I've loved. To me, he's he's my spiritual friends and stuff. And I really miss him because he had it down in terms of seeing and interpreting. And he was a great singer. He wasn't like the great singer on the way people think of singers. He just knew how to interpret the song and vocalize it. At the same time, he was able to, play a pubic hair behind the beat, just behind the beat, giving it a southern feeling. Little subtleties like that, and it works. It really works, and it certainly worked for the band. But it would seem like my whole style is totally different from him, and it doesn't make a difference because he was nice enough when I wrote this book a while back. He did the foreword, and he did it was wonderful to have him do it. But you don't know with people and drummers what they think. Kenny Aronoff, when I met him way back, and he came up, and I love Kenny. He's an amazing drummer. He says, Cork, you're one of my major influences. I say, come on, Ken, go easy. I appreciate that, and don't blow my balls up right now. He says, no. It's your backbeat on the snare. He says, if you listen to Mellencamp records, you'll hear your backbeat. And I'm saying, really? And I'm not being humble on the phone with you. I'm saying, really, eh? And then I listened, I said, yeah, his backbeat is a lot stronger than the average studio guy. It's not the bass drum, it's the backbeat. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is everybody has their different way of bringing what they have in their heart and soul to the table, to the drum set. And it's exciting that it's everywhere. Everybody has their own thing. You got your own thing, I got my own thing. I'm happy to be alive, 50 years of doing it. I think that has something to do with just the idea of being around so long. And it's good. A heartbeat is good. A pulse is good. We all know that. But this is what this record is implying. It's never too late. These songs, it's never too late. They were recorded properly. We didn't, the record company paid for it. We were at great studios, Capricorn, Power Station, Bearsville. When you look at where that was recorded, all First Division. So we had the first division table set. All we needed. What really everything was about was the material. And I'm thrilled that you feel good about that. You know, when you get the vinyl and you hear the whole record. Again, it's all over the place. There is no direction. You know, it's not like they sound like this or they sound like this. They sound like guys playing, just what you said. And it's lovely to hear you, talk about it that way.
That right there, I think that's a perfect way to be able to end this conversation. I mean, not even an interview. I mean, just a great conversation, being able to talk about everything that you're going through right now, everything with being able to talk about Pompeii, all of your playing, all these great, amazing stories and everything. And I really love that as an ending, being able to say that it's never too late. I mean, when, it's just like with all these decades going by, always wondering if these songs are ever going to get released. This special time in your life, being able to record with all these great guys, recording these songs, just putting your heart and soul behind it. And finally now, in 2018, finally getting that full release. So people that have stuck around all this time, all these brand new people who may not be even familiar with this project, and all of these people who are familiar with all the bands that all these musicians are a part of, to hear this slice of history that they may not have known about. It's so awesome to be able to talk to you about all this, hear this brand new music to my ears, this classic music to yours, and just being able to talk music, talk drums, talk everything like this, and just hearing how inspired that you still are to this day, still a rock in the mountain song, still forging your path when it comes into drumming, playing the way that you want to play, still learning, but still wanting to be yourself. And it's just, this was one of the most inspiring interviews that I've done, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be able to talk to me.
Josh, that's very, very kind. I appreciate that so much. It is very kind, and well, most of the answers, made it very easy. I was able to just put some icing on the cake if there's a cake there, and thank you for your support, Josh. I appreciate it very much so.
And very much likewise. I mean, I really do appreciate you taking the time to be able to do this. I know it's been a couple times trying to make this work out, and I'm glad we were finally able to talk about all these great musicians, talk about your amazing playing, everything that you got coming up in the future, talking about Pompeii. It's just, it's so amazing to be able to talk about all this, hear all these great, amazing stories that you have, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be able to talk to me.
Oh, you have. You thanked me enough, and I appreciate it. Just enjoy it, and just stick to it, literally, and it's great. I appreciate that. If it's been good for you, it's good for me. That's what she said last night. I'm kidding, like, you don't have to put that in, but that's nice. I'm proud to be in your loop, and we'll talk if you need anything more. You know where to get me.